Hi, my name is Ambrose, and welcome back to my channel. Today's lesson is entitled Orchestration Acting as Storyteller. We will be looking at the score from Disney's 1998 Mulan, music by Jerry Goldsmith. A cue entitled The Burned Out Village. This video is a quick illustration of how orchestration and instrumentation can act as storyteller, and as a guide in a film score setting. This lesson will be split into two parts. 1. A brief introduction to Jerry Goldsmith and his collaborators. And 2. An analysis of the orchestration and instrumentation in said cue. Jerry Goldsmith, 1929 to 2004, was one of the most celebrated and influential film composers of the 20th century. An 18-time Academy Award nominee, including one win for The Omen, a 5-time Emmy Award winner, and a 9-time Golden Globe nominee. In my mind, he helps to bridge the gap between composers like Erich Wolfgang Korngold and the more current class of composers like Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard. Goldsmith scored many classic films, including Alien, the 1980 Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Patton,
God, I'm proud of these men.
Logan's Run, and A Patch of Blue.
Watch it. Leave me alone.
Oh, help me.
Goldsmith began his private composition lessons at the age of 14, after years of piano studies. During Goldsmith's college years, he was introduced to the great Miklos Rozsa, known for both his film scores and his concert works. Goldsmith would later attend Rozsa's film music course at the University of South California. By the 1950s, Goldsmith was composing for CBS Radio, composing and conducting up to 45 minutes of music each week. Soon after, Goldsmith began composing for TV shows, which in turn led to film scoring work. By the 1960s, Goldsmith was a pioneer of the industry. In the 1960s, he began introducing elements of avant-garde and primitivism and electronics into his scores, most notably in the 1968 Planet of the Apes. Before we begin our analysis, let's briefly mention Goldsmith's partner in crime, composer and orchestrator Alexander Courage. Courage has been working in the industry since the 1940s, orchestrating and providing additional music for numerous films. Courage worked alongside Goldsmith on multiple films including Planet of the Apes, Mulan, Star Trek, Total Recall, and the Star Trek Next Generation title theme. Now let's begin our discussion on Mulan. We are going to look at the way a composer can use orchestration to tell the story. A classic example of this would be Prokofiev's Peter and the Wolf, where each instrument has a leitmotif associated with each character.
The bird will be played by the flute, like this.
When it comes to film scoring, by making a few simple instrumentation decisions, it feels like half the music needed is already complete. What do I mean? For me personally, form was always one of the hardest things about composing, which is why I like scoring for film. The form, generally speaking, is predetermined. The scene is only so long, and once you figure out where the music needs to begin and end, the form is already established. This is also true about instrumentation. One would not often score a love interest scene the same way one would score an action cue. We live in a culture where there is a certain vernacular in film music. We expect certain things. We expect soaring strings for the love theme, pounding brass and percussion for battle sequences. These expectations and limitations, in my mind, make film composing easier. What we are going to see in The Burned Out Village is a very clear example of this. With each change in mood and event unfolding on screen, there's a shift in instrumentation. Think of this as form by instrumentation. Last thing. I don't know if the actual instrumentation is Goldsmith's or Courage's, but for our purposes, it doesn't matter. Let's jump in and hopefully I can make this clearer. The scene begins with the violins holding a sustained note, growing more dissonant over time. This is a good way to set the stage. It creates tension, suspense, and apprehension. As the camera pans to the burned out village, a high Chinese flute sounds. This one unnerving instrument tells us things aren't all right. The village has been attacked. Maybe one would expect a dissonant brass chord, but as you will see, he utilizes each instrument and section of the orchestra one by one, cycling through them.
Search for survivors.
As the crew begins to search for survivors, a plaintive melody plays on the English horn. Goldsmith could have used an oboe here, but the deeper, richer timbre of the English horn, I think, was the right call. Take this time to consider what you wouldn't use. Probably not a solo tuba, not a screaming piccolo. Maybe a solo trumpet or flugelhorn would have worked. Mulan reaches for a child's doll. The woodwinds enter, signifying innocence, followed shortly thereafter by a pulsing string section.
I don't understand. My father should have been here.
Captain!
The anticipation grows until the captain looks over the ridge to see the whole town in ashes. A loud pounding in the percussion signifies both the destruction and an element of the army, as we see soldiers walking back up the hill. Here's where it gets really fun. The solo clarinet is used to signify the loss of the general. It plays a descending sequence as the captain walks away to honor the dead.
The general.
As Mulan walks up to the captain, the melody is passed off to a solo flute. In about 40 seconds, Goldsmith gave us 3 distinct instruments, each guiding the scene a little bit further. He could have scored this whole section, each melody with the strings, but this trading off of instruments is A, less monotonous, and B, it gives us 3 different emotional reactions. This helps to drive the scene forward. Low brooding strings as the captain readies himself.
The Huns are moving quickly. We'll make better time to the Imperial City.
At 2:27, the mood dramatically shifts as the captain mounts his horse and gives directions to his soldiers.
The Huns are moving quickly. We'll make better time to the Imperial City.
This is the first time we have a sustained melody in the horn, an instrument often associated with boldness, nobility, and bravery.
The Huns are moving quickly. We'll make better time to the Imperial City through the Tungshao Pass. We're the only hope for the Emperor now. Move out!
The strings continue their chugging motion, providing forward momentum. Lastly, we return to the high strings as Mulan mourns the lost child. At this point, we don't need the chugging strings and noble horn line. Now that we've been through the whole scene, hopefully you can see that every 30 seconds or so, a new instrument with a different emotional connotation is the central focus. Remember what I said about form. A lot of these instrumentation choices are almost predetermined. We needed to save the drums until we saw the devastation. We needed to save the horn until we have a heroic action, and the woodwinds are used one at a time in a very polished and logical way. Now I will play the video once more without all the interruptions.
Search for survivors. I don't understand. My father should have been here.
Captain!
The General.
I'm sorry.
The Huns are moving quickly. We'll make better time to the Imperial City through the Tungshao Pass. We're the only hope for the Emperor now. Move out!
Thanks for taking the time to hang out today. Take care.